Hi there, writers. Good to see you again. As I told you yesterday on day one of this week, yesterday was our editing lesson, and that was our very last lesson in personal narratives for the year. Don't worry, you'll get to do lots of personal narratives next year. But now we are getting ready for just one of the coolest units. We're doing a writing unit, a combined writing unit with Mrs. Seaton and I. This writing unit is going to be nonfiction writing, which means factual writing. And we're going to be working with Mrs. Seaton on this and combining her work with habitats. So we will be doing research writing about habitats of Indiana. So I'm very excited about that. But whenever we start something new, I always like to do a mind map just so we can get all of our ideas out and think about what's going to be involved in this project. First of all, when I think of nonfiction, remember fiction means a story. So if it's nonfiction, it's not a story. So nonfiction writing is full of facts, the things that we will read about and learn about before we write are real. So real facts. In order to get this real factual information, we have to do research. And research just means reading books on the topic that we want to study and learning from it. And I just used a word that it also reminds me of, and that word is topic. The topic is the subject or the thing that you're going to be researching about to write. I also think of text and graphic features. We've talked a lot about that this year. Text and graphic features, remember when we studied Gail Gibbons and Steve Jenkins? Those were the things in the books, in the nonfiction books, that help the reader better understand and organize the text. Text and graphic features such as a title of a book or an article, or a title page of a book, helps the reader know what the topic of that book is, what that book is all about. Also, headings are helpful. And I will explain what headings are in a moment. We should all know that, but I'll review that in a moment. Other important text and graphic features, photos, or illustrations. Remember, illustrations are drawings. Photos are actual real pictures. Keywords are important. Captions are important. And let's see, I think I wanted to put in here table of contents. Okay, these are all some of the things that we will be talking about in this nonfiction writing unit. I'm going to review those right now with you quickly, and I'm not going to show you all of the text and graphic features we know, just the ones that I will be introducing today. Let me get a little background page for this. Here we go. Okay, first one, title page. That is important, and we're going to notice that today in a mentor text that I'm going to read to you. Title pages are the inside of the book that tells the title and publisher or author information. And so this title page said vegetables, and it gave the author, it gave where they're from, and the year. So that's important information. A heading, this is so important. When we actually do our own writing of our nonfiction, headings will be super important, because those are the words at the very top of the page that explains what that whole passage below will be about. We're going to find examples of that in just a moment. Keywords. words in the text that are important. They can be bold, italics, or color. Now, as I zoom in, here we go. Sorry about that. They've listed some keywords here, and they put the keywords in color. That makes them stand out. That means they're important to this whole article. Fish, brackish water, gills, temperature. That tells me all those words are important, so I get a feeling for what that whole article is about. It has to do with fish that live in brackish water. They have gills and something about temperature. So that helps give me an idea of what I'm reading before I read the whole thing. Photos and illustrations. Photographs, illustrations. Photos are real, lifelike, and illustrations are drawings. Captions are the words or the information under a photograph that tells more about a picture. We're going to study that today too. Along with that, along with pictures, we have labels. Labels are the words and arrows that point to certain parts of a picture that tell the reader what those things are. And another text and graphic feature we'll look at today are maps, okay? Now, why would we want to look at all these? Well, we would want to look at all these text and graphic features because just looking at text and graphic features before we read a text helps the reader know so much more about the text. And you're probably thinking, Mrs. Middleton, why are we reading today? That's not part of writing. Well, actually it is, because good readers of nonfiction and good writers of nonfiction notice text and graphic features when they're first reading a book, and that helps them learn about the topic before actually reading the whole text. So, and we tie in writing with that because good writers of nonfiction read other nonfiction books to learn how to use the text and graphic features. Okay, so I'm going to switch our camera once more. And we're going to look at a text here. And since we're going to be doing our research on habitats, I chose one. This is called a nature walk in the woods. Okay, now we have a ton of text and graphic features right here that we can talk about. And here I have a list that says title page, keyword in color, photo, not drawing, and publisher information. Now, I'm going to point all these out. Our title of this book is right here, A Nature Walk in the Woods. That tells the reader exactly what the whole book will be about. Everything we read in here will be something that happened on a nature walk in the woods. Now, we have to look at this too, because when readers read nonfiction, they need to make sure that the text they've chosen is nonfiction. A big indicator that lets us know this is nonfiction is that there are actual photos. Okay, this is real. So we think from that we're going to read facts about a nature walk in the woods. Another important thing, another text and graphic feature is that the keyword woods, it has color in it to make it stand out. And that lets us know that woods is important with this topic. It is the topic. And again, I said that these are real photos. This is a real picture of woods. And instead of an author on this particular page, they didn't give us the author, but they did give us publisher information. So the publisher is Heinemann, and the book series is Read and Learn. Okay, we'll look at a few pages in here just to get a feel for other text and graphic features. So I have some more arrows that I need to place. And the first thing we're going to look at is the heading. Now, remember I said earlier that the heading is the sentence or the phrase that is always at the top, well, usually at the top. And it's usually the biggest and darkest words on the page. And it gives us a hint about what the whole rest of the page will be about, or the whole 2 pages will be about. This is the heading for this page. It says, where are we going? Now, this is interesting because the heading they put in the form of a question. That is a really neat way that this author decided to put the heading. That might be something you want to do. Where are we going? We are going on a nature walk in the woods. Woods are places where lots of trees grow closely together. Oh, and look, they put a photo to show exactly what the text said. So these were good text and graphic features that help the reader know what they were going to read and what it looks like. Okay, and then we move over here. This is also under the heading, where are we going? We see a close-up photo of a squirrel. And then it says, it can be cool and muddy in the woods, so wear a coat and rubber boots. If you walk quietly, you should spot some amazing woodland wildlife. They give a close-up picture of an animal that's woodland wildlife. They also show at the bottom other kinds of woodland wildlife you might encounter. We'll just look at two more pages and then move on. As we go to this one, this heading says, what lives in the woods? I think I see a pattern here because the headings seem to all have a question mark. Right? They're in question form. And I see another close-up photo. I'm going to skip, save time, but if you were doing this, you would read all the text. But I need to move on to show you. Okay, now we have another photo. We see this deer, but something else that is important is that they have shown another text and graphic feature. And let me move up here. Keywords are words that are in bold and they stick out. It's like the word is going, look at me, look at me, look at me. They stick out and they're bold because they're important and they have a lot to do with what's going on in these two pages. When deer walk, their hooves leave behind tracks. Oh, so maybe that's what this is here. This close-up photo. Okay, the tracks, that's a key word. They wander in the woods feeding on leaves, nuts, and berries. Oh, okay. It tells me why he's wandering around the woods. So these are things that you may want to think about using. Photos, keywords when you're writing. Okay, one last thing I want to show you is as we went through all the other pages, you would still see the headings being questions, but this heading is different. This heading says exploring nature. These things will help you explore the woods on a nature walk. Now, this is a great graphic and text feature. These are called labels. Whenever there's some kind of arrow device and a word pointing at a picture, that is called a label, and that helps explain or name the thing that the picture is of. Okay, well, that is all I wanted to show you today. The whole purpose for this lesson, remember, was for me to show you and review some of the text and graphic features that we've learned before and remind you about what nonfiction writing is. Today, the only assignment I want you to do is read some of that nonfiction writing, or reading rather, that Mrs. Seaton has told you about and has assigned for you on Mayan. And I want you to pick out some of those text and graphic features. I put all the text and graphic feature posters on the Week at a Glance, so parents should be able to look at those so that you have a reference that you can see. That is all for today. Come back tomorrow and we'll talk more about nonfiction writing. Have a good night. Enjoy your reading.